Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. I am Claire Jones, owner of Liminal Clarity, and I am an intuitive productivity expert who provides support and stability to high-achieving visionaries, women, entrepreneurs, executives, those impact makers out there who want to achieve more in less time with less stress, because that's what we all do, right? So we are jumping on today for my Visionaries in Transition Facebook Live series, where I interview the amazing and inspiring impact makers in my own network to discuss the transitions that have shaped our lives and businesses. So if you're joining us, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you're joining us on YouTube, let us know that you're here, where you're tuning in from. And today I'm talking to Kaluwa. She's been on my page a couple times already, and we always have wonderful conversations. And your company is called Imperfectly Amazing, yeah?
Yes, that's right. Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for inviting me back.
Yeah, totally. So let's jump into it. Tell us your backstory. How did you get to where you are?
Oh my goodness. Let's see if I can give you the short version.
That's always the challenge.
Yes. Let's see. Kind of grew up the kid who thought differently, sensed the world a little bit differently, which wasn't always appreciated.
I know those feels.
Often told to be quiet, stay in your lane, children should be seen and not heard, so lots of messages growing up. Steered away from my dreams. I loved dancing. It was my passion. Well, that's a hobby. That's not a career. And, so, then moved into adulthood and still, like, there was that part of me that was saying, I still want to like what I do. So I got into human services and did a lot of work in helping people to just independence, getting to that optimal state for themselves. And I met with a lot of communities in that: developmental disability, mental health, physical disability, lots of different things and lots of issues that probably made people feel a lot like me growing up, and then got to a point where, you can only do so much in that environment. There's a bit of a, well, no, you can't really recommend these holistic woo-woo kind of things that I really loved. And I wanted to be able to not only do that, but possibly even get to people before things became such an issue, having done some evaluation type work, like for people hoping to get back into employment after some health stuff or mental health diagnosis or, what have you. One of the common denominators were there were so many places where there could have been an intervention before we got to this last resort place. And I just wanted to get in there and get to that. So that really started this whole other journey. I started to teach people how to connect to their bodies with holistic movement, health coaching, and then of course got into mindset work and then emotions and energy. And of course, along the way, because no entrepreneur gets to coast, right? You only get to coast when you're accepting a regular paycheck, but as an entrepreneur, you got to do the work. You got to do the personal growth work. And did a whole stinking crap load of that. And it's work, but it's also really amazing on the other side.
It's interesting that you use the word coast, especially in terms of like personal development work, because when you instantly said coast, I thought of like financial security, but you're talking about like emotional and mental security.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother beast.
There's like a lot of programming around, wake up, get ready, go to work, do your time, come home, couple things, go to bed, right? And we just live on autopilot.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's possible to coast with mental and emotional security. Like, I don't know if that's even possible, because you're either stagnant or you're growing. I don't know if there's a middle ground.
Well,
between
and
the
that's
two.
it. That's where, when we are in that place and we're ignoring that, right? And, we're hoping to coast, that all of the issues come up.
Mhm.
That's when we find that, whether it be mental health or emotional issues, those overreactions, like we flip a lid over
Yeah.
something that we shouldn't have, we're like, why did I even do that? Or health issues, these
Mhm.
autoimmune things, because when we're suppressing it into our body, when we're stuffing things down, it's going to come out sideways.
Yeah.
It's coming out one way or the other.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I became such a neuroscience nerd to begin with, because neuroscience explains our emotional regulation management.
Yeah.
And what you just described is actually called response modulation. And that's when you modulate your emotional response to a given situation. And they've actually shown that, and modulation basically means like either suppressing or enhancing an emotional manifestation, an emotional behavior. Like maybe you're suppressing that you're angry at your spouse, or maybe you're being overly enthusiastic with your neighbor, that's suppressing or enhancing artificially.
Yes.
And when you do that, it actually harms your cardiovascular system. People who suppress or enhance their emotional responses end up long-term having cardiovascular problems.
Yes. And you know what? Thank you for the reminder of the enhance. So, the suppress is one thing we often don't want to admit. Like we have this resentment that we're angry about something because we've been taught, more programming, here we go, that you are a bad person. That's a negative emotion and that makes you negative and get rid of it. No, the emotions are just to teach us and to show us maybe what our boundaries are supposed to be. Oftentimes we're angry because our boundaries have been violated. But then we do that opposite, that enhancing, to overcompensate. I'm not angry. Everything's great. It's great. I'm so happy. That doesn't make you high vibration. That doesn't, and you hear about that, like you vibrate at a frequency and that's what you attract more of. So we all want to be high vibration and attract all that abundance and all that great stuff. But when we're that artificial high vibration, guess what? The universe is not fooled.
I absolutely love this conversation, and I might go completely off trail with this, but
yeah, let's do it.
But that is such a great point, because I feel like, especially in the world of social media, we are caught in this culture of false optimism, of being, this picture perfect, polished facade persona online. And it's this element of artificially enhanced positivity. And I think that then, like you said, magnetizes the people to you who are also in that artificially enhanced positivity facade. And that ultimately is a self-sabotaging behavior.
Yes. And it's funny that you're saying this. It's bringing me back with my group. We did a bit of a reading. And one of the things that came up was about like your community and connecting with your community, but it hasn't gone the right way yet because you're looking at it like, well, on paper, this should be my community. Should, right? There's that word, should. You should all over yourself. And ultimately, no, your community is the one that you are authentically aligned with. And the more you connect to that authenticness and truly allow yourself to know who you are, what you believe, not what the world wants you to believe, what you want from this life, what your purpose is here, because remember, we all have one, and what brings you joy and pleasure. Oh, the more the pieces start to fall into place, and the people will find you, whether it be the clients, the friends, the religion, or religious organization, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's all gonna just magnetize to you.
And I think so many people can relate to that in our audiences right now, because we are so brainwashed by this idea of vanity metrics in social media.
Yeah.
And the engagement metrics and organic engagement versus paid organic engagements, and like all of these marketing conversations that we have as business owners on a day-to-day basis, especially public facing business owners on social media platforms, is like, how do we curate this authentic expression of ourselves, but in a way that magnetizes the right people to you at that time? Because otherwise you're just going to be stuck in these communities that are artificially created, that are honestly lies, because you're putting on this mask of like, I am this person in this community, and this is the mask that I project to this certain community that I have, whether it's a networking group, whether it's a family group, whether it's a friend group, whether it's a social media platform, because people also have different personas based on Facebook versus Instagram versus LinkedIn versus TikTok. And I've been navigating those very much in the last, actually this year, because my social media engagement and visibility has skyrocketed this year. And I have thousands and thousands and thousands of people who now watch me. And I have to be very conscious of like, all right, what persona am I embodying on Instagram? What persona am I embodying on Facebook? What persona am I embodying on TikTok? And are those personas actually authentic to me?
Are they me? Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And, it's funny, I've had to let go of a lot of messages and mindset things. I went on a very intentional journey, actually about a year ago. Yeah, next month it pretty much started, where I said, I've been hiding and I need to be seen. I don't know how that's going to go. And it's been it's been a whirlwind. But I know that there were so many times in the past where like something would come across my feed and I'm like, fired up and I can't believe it. And then, oh, I better not say anything about that though, because that's going to make the world mad. And right. And all of these messages I've gotten, I remember especially starting out, oh, you shouldn't say that. You're going to alienate business. Oh, and I'm like, honestly, I don't want that person's money then. If I have to tiptoe around them, that's exhausting. And it's a lot of your energy.
Yeah. It's emotional labor.
Exactly. And so I have been more and more and more. And again, it's a muscle, right? It's a muscle that we flex, where we practice speaking our mind even more and more. Damn to whoever, doesn't like what we have to say, but just take me or leave me for who I really am.
Okay, so we're going to completely off rail this conversation, because I want to go down this road right now, because this circles back around to what we were talking about before we went live in people pleasing.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned to you that I'm in the middle of my second week of a sabbatical right now. And the main purpose of this sabbatical, I didn't know this going into it, but I now know the main theme of the sabbatical is this tendency of mine, this lifelong tendency of mine of people pleasing. And that is exactly what we're talking about here, with curating these false facades in order to people please, in order to please our audiences, please our families, please our partners, please our business communities. And I just mentioned this because I also saw that in your intake for this call is like this transition of learning people pleasing and how to combat that.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, first I want to say, if you're people pleasing, give yourself some grace. You're not alone. We're all doing, and no matter how far you come, you often catch yourself back into it, and that's okay. But let's be real. Let's think about this. This is centuries of programming.
Centuries,
you
millennia.
have been programmed into servitude. We're in a patriarchal society, and I'm not a man basher. Okay. I love men. I love empowered men. Okay. And I want to help the women get empowered too, because I think the imbalance has disempowered both men and women.
Mm-hmm.
So we have learned centuries, years, generations, it gets passed down of programming that have taught us to behave a certain way, to believe a certain way, to think a certain way. And at one point in time, it was dangerous for us to not do that. We could be ostracized from the community, which meant peril, right? That meant live or die, right? Either fit in or go die, you know? And, it was funny, like an interesting little history tip my daughter was teaching me. She always finds the most interesting stuff. But women used to always have a lot of jewelry. And it wasn't because they were hoity-toity or greedy or delicate or materialistic. Any of these things. It was because they weren't allowed to have money. That was their safety, their security, that if in an emergency, if they needed some cash, they could sell it and have some. They couldn't have a bank account, right? So we have all of this stuff, and trust me, this is all programmed into us, like right into our beings. So when I say give yourself some grace, like you don't just wake up and say, well, damn it, I'm programmed, tomorrow I'm going to change it all. Like this takes some unraveling and some undoing in order to get to that place. But it can be a bitter pill, I think sometimes, but I always think the bitterest pills are the most empowering ones, because then they put you back in that place of control over yourself, right? You can't control the world, but you can control yourself. And that gives you power.
Yeah. And it was really during the sabbatical that I identified the definition of people pleasing as well, which I think is also very important in this conversation. Is it's doing what you think other people think is the right thing.
Yeah.
And so, yes, feminism and the patriarchy has a huge component to how we as women interact with people-pleasing tendencies. But I think this also applies to the masculine counterparts out there of us, is like that we do these things thinking that it's the right thing according to other people's opinions.
Absolutely.
Like getting college degrees is a huge one now. Like think about all the people that could make bank going into the trades right now, because the trades
just
are
having that conversation just recently. Yes.
Yeah, but they're looked down upon because they're a carpenter, they're an electrician, they're a plumber, and they're not like a doctor, or they don't have a BA in marketing, or they don't have an MBA, or they don't have, this MA in psychology or whatever it is that is this status symbol that they're
absolutely pursuing. Yes. And why? Because somebody along the way said, this is more valuable. Why? When you look back at all of those kinds of programming beliefs, look at where the money's going. And that's why there's a whole lot more money being spent on degrees than there is in trade schools.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Yeah.
So you always have to question everything. Why? And then even look at, one of the things I've really noticed in my journey to, reduce my people pleasing. Okay. I'm still journeying, but you can see how people react And I don't even think they know they do it, but because we've been programmed for so long, when somebody says something or does something that goes outside of that norm, there's a reaction. And it could be just the tiniest little cringe or frown or, oh, or it could be really obvious. Like I watched somebody, you know, a woman dressed a certain way and this other lady's like, slut, right? This is all the stuff that continues to program us and continues to, oh, I'm wrong. I shouldn't be doing that. The whole world thinks something else. And this is where you can backslide, you can fall back into it.
And I think it also boils down to this whole concept of abundance versus scarcity.
Yeah.
Because I think that people pleasing is a scarcity mindset.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, it's that basic fight or flight type of thing. It's that foundation level of security of, will I survive or will I die? I must please them to survive.
That's why I'm a huge component of the living wage. Because if we have universal income, if we have universal living wage that just takes care of our basic fundamental shelter, food needs, then we can have that basic foundation to then build off of. We aren't scrabbling for basic survival needs at that point. And I think we've evolved as a society, as a globe, that we can feasibly support that now, because we do have the technology and the productivity capabilities to viably support everyone on the planet, at least for basic survival needs.
Yeah.
But we have capitalism.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like ruminating all of that. Oh, you know, and it's one of the things that keeps coming in my head is hope. You know, a person has no hope. You know, they're almost like a wild animal. And yeah. And there's, you know, there's so many things being forced upon us right now. And at the same time, there's nothing to support it. You know, there's not these things going into place of how will we support the people? It's just, again, that falls into perception and the programming of what we've been taught to believe. You know, if a person needs support, they're less than, they're less valuable.
Yeah.
And I mean, I say all the time, I think that everybody, when they get out of school, whether it's high school, college, what have you, there should be like a mandatory 5-year human services period that you work, because so many of the things that I learned about people were so damn wrong when I got there. You know, let's be real. How many people, you know, somebody getting the average paycheck, how many people really have, you know, a year's worth of savings in their bank account?
Very small numbers.
Let's be real. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck, and an unexpected layoff will throw you into needing some help.
And capitalism promotes this circular fight or flight, survival, scarcity mindset, because they want to keep the masses in that frantic, desperate, just trying to get by state.
Yeah. Well, when you're in that state, you're not focusing on anything else. You're not focusing on the real issues. Who cares who's even in office? I can't deal with that. I need to figure out what I'm going to make for dinner.
Totally. Yeah. Like we can't care about the environment when we're trying to find our next meal. Yeah. We can't care about, you know, the rights of someone who lives across the globe from us if we can't afford to feed our children. Yes.
And that was, you know, a big part of the energy for this week was around money. And again, so now again, that programming of money, and especially women who were not allowed to have money, we have a lot of baggage with that, and in receiving it and being worthy of receiving it. And the thing is, the more we do receive it, the more we get to make an impact, the more of a say we get to have in this world, because, let's face it, that's what kind of, gives you some playing ground, is having some money. And so the more of the visionaries and the heart-centered change maker people that we can get making some cash, the more we can create this more abundant mindset society.
Yeah, let's go back to the people pleasing and wrap things up. Is like, what kind of practical tips or tools or strategies have you used over the years to combat this people pleasing tendency that we're both battling with?
Sure. I mean, definitely connecting to myself. Okay. And always going back to, does this feel in alignment for me? Is it expansive? Is it contractive? Right. Also, things like tapping, or, neuro-linguistic programming, or, like things like that, to reprogram the old programming. And then what I think is probably invaluable is community, is finding yourself in places where you are unconditionally supported and celebrated for being you and your full authentic self. And you have to really make sure that you are, like, it's not, only if I do it this way. No, it's however you do it, or however you say it, or whatever you're doing or saying, that I love you, I see you, I support you, I celebrate you.
Yeah. What would you recommend to the people who are just trying to figure out what they want in the first place?
I mean, I'm a coach, so I always say, work with somebody, because that is, I work with people. Like, I can see it so clearly for other people, but when it comes to me, it's oftentimes, not this, I'm just coming here from a call where I was in tears and, getting some clarity on some things, and because I was working with my coach. I am a big believer in that support, because first of all, you're investing in you, and they're investing in you, and they're just giving you that clarity. And all of a sudden things start to just sort of, right into place. And you're like, oh, but when you're sitting in the middle of it and it's all swirling around you, it can be really challenging. So yeah. And like I said, you interview, you feel who feels right for you, who doesn't. It might be more than one person. It might be one person at a certain time, but I do really believe that it is such a powerful way, especially for those of you who are on that journey. I know that I tend to have a bit of a black sheep following. So, the empaths and the sensitives coming from probably not the most functional scenarios. And they're the first ones to be functional, and they're healing the whole family. And that's a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of stuff in there, and you just need somebody to love on you and remind you of how amazing you are and how powerful the work you're doing is.
Yeah. I'm really glad you pointed that out, is like, find someone who is your tribe as well. Because when you said you attract black sheep, I was like, who do I attract? I was thinking about that in my head, and I was like, I attract the people who like raged against the machine in high school.
Yeah.
Like the people who are just like angry about the way things are and know that it can be better.
Yes.
And they're like, we need to do something about it.
Yes. And it's funny you say that, because I was kind of like that, but then I was a little bit scared to step out of line. I was like, we're going to do a sit-in. We all sit down and the teacher's like, go to class. Okay. because I was that chicken, people
so
pleasing,
funny.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I was always the one that like encouraged everyone else to stay in the sit-in.
Yeah, good for you. I needed you. So there we go. See?
Yeah, like I would gather a following, and then like as the time went on, I would be the only one left.
That's awesome. That's a great thing. Good for you.
But that's so funny because like I'm even thinking about the support people that I needed in my journey and thinking about this anger piece. I needed someone to be angry with me.
Yeah.
Like I actually had a therapist for about 2 years, and we were supposed to be doing EMDR. That's why I looked her up in the first place. I was like, this programming, I was like, I need to figure out some of this neural programming that I have going on, and EMDR is perfect for that. It's eye movements, something.
Yeah.
Therapy.
Yes.
And we only ever did one EMDR session.
Oh, how funny.
Over 2 years.
Oh, wow.
But because I just kept going back to her because she got angry with me.
Yeah.
Like I would show up and I'd be like, I'm angry about this. I'm angry about this. I'm angry about this. And she's like, yeah, you should be angry.
Yeah, that's it. And it's funny because like I've had so many people who they guide me in different ways, but then they've all been so powerful. Like the one was like, you have some fight energy in you. There's this fight. And I had to go back and look at what is it. And it was like, I've always had to fight for everything. And it was never easy and it was hard. And I had to release that and let go of it. And then I had the other person who was like, you've got to visit the dark side of the moon, right? Tap into these dark emotions, the generational trauma. What was this? And it was like, oh my God, it was right there. Like I knew that. How did I not realize it was affecting me like that? And and then the other one, oh, the inner child healing, right? So everybody brings this other thing to you, and it's beautiful. And it just keeps guiding you. And I always say, if you're noticing patterns, something keeps showing up, right? And I had one, we were just talking at the beginning before we got on about the overgiving pattern. And I had another blunt reminder about my tendency to overgive. And so, okay, message received, right? So now how am I going to fix this? And so when you're seeing those patterns, sometimes it's not so clear. Like I've been doing this a bit, so it was clear for me, but sometimes it's like, well, there's this pattern happening. Why am I always attracting this type of relationship? Why does my bank account always look like this? Why does everything go this way for me? Right? And I don't get it and I don't understand. Well, that's where the right support is going to help you get clear on that and figure out how to unravel it.
I really like that you identified the word pattern, because that's actually something that I was thinking about earlier on in our conversation when you were talking about how people react to you stepping out of the pattern of what they expect from the situation, because you are pattern disrupting. You are disrupting what their expectations are for a given situation. And you identified yourself as a pattern disruptor at the beginning of the call. Like I identify myself as a pattern disruptor at the beginning of the call, or always.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think that we need these other pattern disruptors in our lives. My therapist was a pattern disruptor for letting me know that it was okay to be angry.
Yes.
Like we have these coaches, we have these mentors, we have these influences who tell us like this part needs to be disrupted, this pattern needs to be disrupted, and we can move you out of that disruption as well.
Yes. And that's it. When it's showing up, I mean, if it's like, hey, I make $1 million every year and I love it. Okay, let's keep that pattern. But if it's something that you don't love, it's repeating to tell you that it's something to learn. It's for you to grow as a human. And so, it's time to address it and transform.
Yeah. I love that. All right, cool. Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I feel like we've hit a lot here.
Yeah,
As always, I just love conversations with you, Claire. I feel like you and I could talk all day.
all day,
And we
all
always
day.
get
I was
into
like, what if I just take it to an hour today? And I was like,
it's always so good. And yes, find those people who are gonna disrupt you. Yeah, it's good. It's such a good thing to not be on autopilot,
mm,
not stuck in your comfort zone, which is usually not really that comfortable.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
just,
you also have to be open to the disruption.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's so many people that resist the disruption. Like I've had about a handful of sales calls over the last 4 years of people who just like fought me every step of the way.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, why are we doing this?
yeah. I
Like,
know.
if you're just gonna show up to fight me,
I know. It's hard, it's so hard to watch it because you see that person sort of lean in like they want it, and then they say that thing that oh, they've just decided no, they're not going to invest in them. And it's like, I don't know, a lot of times it tends to be like an old pattern of abuse or
totally.
yeah.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
why they're showing up. Like I know
Yeah.
enough about human behavior that I
Yeah.
know what's going on, but
Yeah.
you
It's
can
hard
lead
to watch.
I know it's hard to watch. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so let's just, I guess, celebrate our pattern disruptiveness.
Yeah. Well, and you were on my show, right? I have a show called Breakthrough or Bust. And the point of that show is sharing stories so that, we first of all know we're not alone. And then we can, secondly, get out of the shame, right? We tend to, again, back to your social media perfection, we shame spiral ourselves like, oh, everybody's got it together except me. No, they don't. Nobody's showing you the pictures of them homesick on the couch or, crap, I spent all my money, or nobody's showing those pictures off.
Those bank balances. If we put bank
Exactly.
balances on social media statuses, it would be a whole different game.
Yes, exactly. So like, let's just all tell stories that are real and, because we all have them, we all experience them multiple, 10 times over. And then the more you realize you're not alone, the more you can feel inspired and know that you can do it too. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, powerful stuff that we're talking about here today,
Yes.
per usual. And audience, we definitely encourage you to reach out and share your own thoughts and feelings and insights and stories with us as well. And we'd love to know how these types of transitions, like we've been talking about, people pleasing, coming into authenticity, stuff like that, has impacted you in your own lives, because it has all impacted us.
Yes.
So special thanks to Kaluwa for joining me today. It has been an
Thank you
absolute
so
pleasure.
much, Claire. I've had so much fun being with you.
I love these. I was like, all right, I'm in the middle of a sabbatical, but I'm going to jump on for this because I love doing them so much. I was like,
and there you go. That's how you know it's in alignment.
I was like, I will put on makeup for Kaluwa.
Thank you.
So as always, I'm looking for more guests. So if you're interested in coming on this series and sharing your own perspectives, please reach out to me and I'll send you the sign up link. At the moment, we are booked out to the end of October. So I recommend having your slot, selecting your slot, reserving your slot sooner rather than later. I can't wait to chat with all of you. So in the meantime, please comment, like, and subscribe, share if you're picking up what we're putting down here, and check out Linktree/Liminal Clarity for all of my links. And then Kaluwa, where can people find you?
Linktree/Kaluwa, KALUWARG.
Great. And I'll put those in the comments and in the description for easy access. So until next time, please remember that your authentic self is extraordinary. It is wonderful, and you owe it to yourself to create the elevated life that you know you are capable of. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.